it's Mo. As you can see, Renegade Wave is doing its own thing today. I keep doing this, and it keeps doing that. So I'm gonna try to do that, maybe. I like makeup very much. I like to hang out and talk about it, but hair is not my thing at all, which you probably figured out looking at this. But today we're gonna talk about the e.l.f. Retro Paradise, part of the collection, not the whole collection. I have the 18 pan eyeshadow palette, and I did get the Line and Shine lip kit and all the glosses. There's 4 glosses in the collection, so I have all 4 of those. We're gonna look at them, we're gonna look at the palettes. This is not a first impression. I've been using these for a couple of weeks on and off, and the reason I've kind of hesitated on this video is truthfully because I've gone back and forth about what do I really think about the palette. You probably have noticed, if you've been around here, that I've been high on the e.l.f. train in the last 6 months or whatever. I love their matte blushes, the primer infused matte blushes, and the shimmer blushes, and the Slick Shine lipsticks, and the Seriously Satin, and the little bite-sized palettes. I mean, they just have done no wrong. e.l.f. has done no wrong for me in the last several months. So this one has not been as much of a home run from the beginning, and so I wanted to make sure I knew exactly what I thought about everything before I talk to you about it. Really, this hair is really, should I do that? Bad hair, bad hair. e.l.f. Retro Paradise. So I'd say the biggest thing in the collection is the 18 pan eyeshadow palettes. e.l.f. has come out with several of these over the last couple years, the new classics. I know a lot of people really like that one. e.l.f. Earth and Ocean, which is blues and greens, is also a very popular one. 18 Hit Wonder is another, and I think there's one I'm forgetting. Opposites Attract. I think those are all of the 18 pan palettes. So I have new classics, and I have Earth and Ocean, and now I have Retro Paradise. So let's look at the packaging first. I mean, you can see the vibe is very like a kind of a pop 60s, 70s kind of, even the font and everything like that. Looks kind of disco-y. So maybe more 70s. And the packaging is kind of what I'd call kind of a beachy looking coral. So as I understand it, the deal on this is that it was created by a group of 5 influencers, I guess we'll say. I forget when, but e.l.f. had some kind of, I think they call it their Dreamscape event, and it was in the Bahamas, and they invited, I don't know, influencers, I guess. And then they broke those influencers into teams, and the teams competed, and as I understand it, they had 24 hours to come up with an entire collection that was somehow based on the theme of the Bahamas. So this group of 5 creators came up with Retro Paradise, and from what I understand, they chose most of the colors based on, you know, paint colors that they were seeing in the Bahamas, or things about the tropical drinks or that kind of thing. So that's kind of the idea behind the collection. And this is the palette, as I said. And then I also got the Line and Shine lip kit, which has 4 lip liners. I don't know that I've ever been aware of an e.l.f. lip liner before, to my knowledge. And then it has 1 lip gloss. This one is called A Moment, this particular shade of the Dream On lip gloss. There are 4 new lip glosses total, all in this Dream On formula, which are tropical fruit extract infused, I believe is what they say. So when those are individually packaged, they look like this, and I did get the 4 of those. So I wanted to talk about this Line and Shine kit from e.l.f. So you can see it's 4 liners, and it's a gloss, and I kind of like these liners. I'm surprised. So this was $10. This whole set was $10. And to my knowledge, this collection, any pieces of this collection are only available on the e.l.f. Cosmetics website. That is where I ordered mine, and I haven't seen it anywhere else. Also, this is a limited edition collection. I presume just for the summer or until it's sold out, or they don't say specifically. So there it is out of the packaging, and you can see there's kind of, this one is a pretty light pinkish nude. This one is kind of a step up and a little more brown. This one is more of kind of a true neutral, deeper brown, and then we've got a hot pink liner. And then the gloss, as I said, is called A Moment. And this Dream On gloss formula, every one of them has glitter in it, but the 4 colors have varying amounts of glitter in them. And I'll kind of talk about that too. So I'm gonna pull these liners out. Here they are. So there's no shade names on these liners. Packaging again follows the same theme, that retro paradise, and all it says is lip liner. They don't have individual shade names. So I'll do them in the order they were in the package. This, like I said, is that kind of lightest pinky nude. Go here. So there's that one. I like these liners. They're kind of that combination of, I mean, they're obviously a sharpenable pencil liner, but they're not overly creamy, and yet they're creamy enough. They're kind of a nice, actually I think these are really nice. As far as I could tell, you cannot buy these individually. You have to buy them in the set, but I would be very pleased if e.l.f. decided to come out with a line of these liners, because I really like them. I would definitely use these more, or I would use, you know, different colors of them or whatever. And all four of them seem to have the same formula. I like all of them. And there you are. So, and then we'll talk about the glosses and what I have on today, because this is a really unusually nude lip for me, which you probably are realizing. As I said, these have varying degrees of glitter. These are in no particular order that I'll be swatching these, and they have the same font, same packaging. These do have individual names. They all have what they call a tropical fruit scent. I'd say that's pretty accurate. I'm not wild about fruit scented things. It's fine. I don't love it. But we'll swatch them for you here. So this one is Tropical Fruit Punch. That's the name of the shade. And Strawberry Daiquiri is this one. Guess I should have showed that to you. Which is a little bit deeper, just a hair deeper. And A Moment is the one that's in the set with the lip liners, which is essentially clear with glitter. Kind of champagne-y, but pretty clear when I'm looking at it. And then Electric Lemonade is the fourth, which is a blue that has a blue hint to it, but it certainly doesn't come off super blue. It's fairly clear and maybe has just a hint of blue in it. You'll see it here. So this is Electric Lemonade. This one. So Tropical Fruit, Strawberry Daiquiri, A Moment, and Electric Lemonade. And what I have on my lips today is the lightest of the lip liners with Electric Lemonade. And this gloss feels, I would say this has the least glitter of the four. And if I really try, I can feel the glitters in this one, but nothing like the other ones. This one in particular, A Moment, that comes in the set with the lip liners, is really glittery. Like, it didn't feel good at all. I wanted this one off my lips right away. And these are not quite as bad as this, but they don't have as little glitter as this. So for me in general, I don't like glitter in my lip gloss. I don't like that feeling of grit on my lips. So these are okay. There's nothing really wrong with them, but they're not really my cup of tea. But of the four, the Electric Lemonade is my favorite, just because it has the least glitter, I guess. So that's kind of how I feel about the Line and Shine lip set, which is $10. And then on to the palette, which to me was the most interesting part of the collection. I do have this on today, by the way. 18 shades, as I mentioned. And of course, I'll swatch all of these for you. Let's talk about the color selection first. So pretty standard in terms of a lot of what we've seen in recent years from various brands is a lot of neutrals and then some pops of color. I love purples, so of course this interested me, this more lavender shade. And then according to e.l.f., duochromes are a new formula for them. This one is definitely a duochrome. This one is a duochrome that has just a little bit of glitter, actually. Paraíso has a little bit, and then this is Disco down here. This one I've I've used a few times. A blue purple is like my favorite. There was a day that I did kind of a neutral eye and then lined underneath with this blue. This blue is surprisingly good, I think. The shimmers are pretty good. This one, is it sea salt, is a little flaky. This duochrome is a little bit flaky. None of these for me are just like creamy. I shouldn't say none, but this is not like consistent across the board. Every shade swatches and works perfectly. So let's just kind of swatch here. So we've got Canvas, Sandy Bum, Rise and Shine, and Spiced. So there's a lot of warm, there's a lot of cool, and then there's a lot of color. And I think it fits the theme that they're going for here, kind of that beachy vibe. I've never been to the Bahamas, so I couldn't tell you if it matches a Bahamian theme or not. And then Paraíso, as I mentioned, this is that duochrome. You can kind of see that in the pan. Duochrome, it's actually got some green shimmers in it. This is coconut. I like this color a lot. This is a deep brown, but it's got a touch of plum in it. Dijon over here, I use that as a transition color today. And here is sea salt. As I mentioned, this one's a little bit more flaky. Feels fairly soft when I touch it, but you can see it's kind of scattered. When you see it on my finger there. There's that coconut shade, I really like that. Dijon, sea salt. Next is Fuego, Sip Sip, Bahamer, and Tropicana. Overall, the mattes feel pretty good. This is a fairly powdery formula. I did compare it to my other 18 pan palettes to see how I felt the formula compared. Not the colors, but the formula. And I think it's pretty similar. Some shades are better than other shades, like this green, which is really a pretty color, and it looks like it has a little bit of shimmer when you're in the pan, but I don't see it translate at all when I'm using it. The lavender is nice, but it doesn't swatch, you know, insanely well. Caliente, Cacao, Fortuna, and Royal. There's that blue I was talking about. That blue is really nice. Let's just go down here. So this is a cooler neutral brown. I like that they have that in addition to the coconut shade. There's that blue. I like the shade of that blue. You know, blues and purples, for whatever reason, are often difficult to formulate. I don't know why, but they often come off not as strong as some other colors, but I had good luck with that shade, even though it's not swatching perfectly. And then Disco, which is arguably my favorite shade in the palette, and Nightlife, which is it's a black. It's definitely not the deepest, darkest black I've ever seen. Here's that Disco shade. I wish this had a little more intensity because I like the color a lot. When I've used it, I've had to really pack it on. There's Nightlife. Actually, that swatched pretty nicely. But you can see it's more of a charcoal. It's not a deep, dark black. So, you know, we start out, that's a light shade, so that's not going to show up as well. These swatch beautifully. This is pretty good. That coconut shade's not bad. Dijon. These are a little hit and miss. Sip Sip actually isn't too bad. That's a shimmer. These two are great. This is pretty good. This one, like I said, I wish it had more intensity. And this one depends on what you want from a black. I don't usually use a lot of black from a palette, so I might prefer a somewhat lighter version so it's not quite as stark, but as with everything actually related to makeup, that's personal preference. So as I said, I used this palette today. I used Dijon as a transition shade. I put some Tropicana also in that area. Then I went in and put Tropicana all over the lid. Used Disco. Again, I had to pack this on pretty good, but I did put that out here on both eyes. I used my finger for that, my little finger, and put that also under the lower lash line. And then I put some Rise and Shine, this gold you can see in the center of the lid. So that's the look. I like the look. I was specifically trying to do something I hadn't done with the palette before, because I've done a fair number of looks with this. And I'm happy with the way it turned out. It doesn't have quite as much punch as I would prefer from these kinds of colors. So that's why I've been kind of, how do I feel about this palette in particular? I guess the best conclusion I can draw is that I definitely like it. It's a $14 palette. It's got a very, I'd say the color story is pretty interesting. I like that green. I like that you know, duochrome disco, the blue purple color. And some of those mattes are really nice. Like I enjoy, Fuego is nice, even though it seems pretty light. There's a lot of good transition kind of shades in here. And then, like I said, you can choose this more purpley leaning brown or this more neutral cool brown. That blue is really nice, particularly to use for me anyway as a liner. These I like. They don't have the punch I'd like them to have. And like I said, these are a powdery formula, and I got a fair bit of fallout and kick up in the pan. So it's kind of a mixed bag for me. The thing I will say that I have liked a lot about this palette is that because of the color selection, I've done several more colorful looks than I typically do. So I wanted to really use every shade in here and see what kind of combinations I could come up with and what I thought about every, you know, every single pan. And so I've had some fun coming up with some looks. Like today I specifically wanted to do something that used violet and, you know, more yellow shades because they're complementary colors, and I wanted to see what I could do with that. I'm happy with it. As I said, it took a little more work than I would prefer. So in terms of my riding the elf train, I'm not disappointed in this. I don't feel like it's, oh, do not get this palette. They really didn't do a good job on this, but it's not up to the standards of the other things that I've tried, you know, in the last 6 months that I've absolutely been in love with. So this is a like for me. It's not a love. If you want to have a palette that gives you options with warm and cool and color, and you know that's not really the thing you usually go for, maybe you want to experiment a little and do something a little bit different, you might like this palette. If you're just looking for something else to add to your collection, that's another really great product that's, you know, at a drugstore price. I don't know. For me, this one is just, like I said, it's just kind of a like. It's kind of in the middle, and that's where it's been from the first time I used it until today when I used it. So not a glowing review, I guess. Also not a fail. So that's kind of where I am. So it's really kind of like, are you going to use the colors? You know, and are you okay with the fact that some of these colors are not going to be as intense as they might look in the pan? So, as always, I hope that was helpful because that is my only purpose here. I love that you hang out and talk makeup with me because I love this stuff. I hope you're at peace today, and I'll talk to you soon.